When I heard the general theme for this year's freshman seminar final project, Heal, I immediately thought of my home city, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My name is Rosie Jefferson, and I am a freshman sociology major born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in the entire United States. This immense amount of segregation is mostly a product of redlining, defined as the discriminatory practices of denying minority populations access to equal loan and housing opportunities. During the National Housing Act of 1935, the Home Owners Loan Corporation created residential security maps. These maps systemically outlined residences and rated neighborhoods based on a multitude of factors, including the characteristics of the people who lived in the neighborhood. Many of the questions formulated to make decisions about these maps were implicitly and or explicitly concerned with the demographics of its residents. Four distinct categories were developed when mapping neighborhoods. As can be seen, the best areas were deemed predominantly white areas and colored green. Areas colored blue were also predominantly white areas and still considered desirable. The yellow and red areas were considered declining and hazardous for investment, as when these areas were predominantly black communities. Because of this, banks refused to lend in predominantly black neighborhoods, leading to the lack of reinvestment opportunities and housing stock decline in already poor neighborhoods. So as can be seen, there is a high concentration of red and yellow in the middle of this map, and the green and the blue are on the outskirts and lining the lake. In a more recent map of the racial demographics of Milwaukee, one can see the direct correlation between the redlining and the now immense amounts of segregation that Milwaukee endures. So, yeah. For most of my life, I attended Whitefish Bay High School. This was named the #1 high school in Wisconsin for numerous years in a row. I was one of the maybe 15 black kids in my class, although only 5 graduated through. It is safe to say that I've seen the privileged and the bougie. I've seen designer clothes and fancy cars, but I've also seen racist and I've seen ignorant people. Whitefish Bay didn't care about black culture and it didn't care about its black students. I had to live through it for 12 years, up until I left that district. When I left, I attended James Madison Academic Campus, a predominantly black school in a predominantly black neighborhood. James Madison is one of the most underrepresented, underfunded schools in the Milwaukee public school system. MPS comprises nearly 90% students of color, a majority of whom are black and Hispanic. 86% of its students are economically disadvantaged. This can be directly linked back to the redlining and segregation I was talking about earlier. It was a culture shock, of course, when I arrived at James Madison, but I grew to love the school. The kids taught me so much about my identity as a black woman and about black culture in general. I love the teachers, the kids, and the education that I did gain, and I felt so much pain as well. It was not uncommon for kids to leave school to return to poor homes. It was not uncommon for kids to skip school altogether to make money. This could mean their full-time job at McDonald's or their duties within the streets. Due to the underrepresentation, poverty, abuse, violence, and gang life many of the kids faced outside of the four walls of James Madison, academics were never really that important to them. They would come to school to socialize, to escape, or to link up with their friends and leave back out. However, they would rarely come to school to learn. Learning was the least of most of these kids' worries when they didn't even have survival down packed. Once COVID hit in March of this year, it hit hard and fast. The black community suffered immensely. A UWM report found that African Americans account for 69% of the coronavirus-related deaths in the county, while making up 27% of the county's population. COVID-19 revealed the patterns of institutionalized and systemic racism and segregation so prevalent in Milwaukee. Why is this? Well, this is a product of the overcrowded housing many black people in America face. It is a product of the fact that many black people cannot work from home as they are essential workers. There is only one hospital in Milwaukee's north side. The north side of Milwaukee is the predominantly black area of the city. It is also a known fact that African Americans as a population have higher rates of chronic illness, making them more susceptible to the coronavirus. So in correlation to the theme of this presentation and freshman seminar, Heal, what has Milwaukee done to heal the damage that COVID-19 inflicted upon the community? Free masks have been offered at many locations around the city. Testing sites have been located in predominantly black neighborhoods. Free food is offered at many MPS schools. Advertisement around the city about how to prevent getting the virus and spreading the virus is at everywhere, really. Bus stops, corner stores, gas stations. Earlier this year, there was rent forgiveness and free bus rides for a period of time. In regards to educational healing, what will happen to MPS students that already had such a hard time with school before COVID hit? According to journalist Adam Brewster, MPS plans to spend about $22.7 million on 65,000 Chromebooks and 19,500 wireless hotspots, according to the budget figures in its reopening plan. I think that this is a big help, the Chromebooks and the wireless hotspots, but I do not think that it is enough. When I heard of COVID, my first thought was, how were kids enrolled in MPS going to be successful? Few of them had laptops, and lots of them didn't have stable Wi-Fi. The scariest part of it all, though, was, how were kids going to graduate? How were kids going to get education? Education is so essential for a multitude of reasons. And how were kids going to be motivated to go to school with such hectic home lives? The kids had a hard enough time going to school even before COVID, so when they are home, undersupervised, and free to do as they please, what is stopping them from doing just that? The answer is nothing. So the biggest question of it all is, how can Milwaukee receive educational healing? Of course, there is underfunding, but the district is trying hard to solve that problem. But I'm more concerned with how kids are going to find the motivation to go to school or even care about school. In his book, The Education of Black People, W.E.B. Du Bois talked about the importance of education and the function of the HBCU. We hold the possible future in our hands not by wish and will, only by thought, plan, knowledge, and organization. If the college can pour into the coming age an American Negro who knows himself and his plight, and how to protect himself and fight race prejudice, then the world of our dreams will come, and not otherwise. This quote is the embodiment of the function of the HBCU, as well as the essential members HBCUs, as well as the essential members of society HBCUs create. HBCUs teach the truth, the real and honest truth. HBCUs empowers and educates their students to enter into the world and fight on behalf of their Black brothers and sisters. They teach the truth, and that is an exact correlation with the second to last line, as can be seen within the quote: protect himself and fight race prejudice. If one knows the truth, or should I say the source of the pain, and this pain can be systemic racism, this pain can be institutionalized racism, this pain can be job discrimination, mass incarceration of Black people, this pain can be segregation. If one knows the source of this pain, we can work from the inside out. And that is exactly why HBCUs are so essential. And that is exactly how an HBCU education, and if more kids from the city of Milwaukee got an HBCU education, or even just understood the importance of education, what is to say that immense healing would not take place within Milwaukee, Wisconsin, if kids did know the truth, learned the truth, and worked on behalf of the truth to solve these problems? Many people never learn or are aware of that source of pain, and that is the exact beauty of HBCUs, and that is the power of HBCUs, as W.E. Du Bois just stated. HBCUs create members of society that can then take this truth that they learned at their HBCU and tackle headfirst the problems that plague the Black community to this very day. These problems, as I just said, could be the institutionalized racism and segregation that was brought to light during this pandemic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. MPS has an abundance of beautiful Black minds that do not yet know their ability. They do not see a bright future, and I can speak on behalf of many of my friends and classmates that it's hard to see a bright future while we're surrounded by the dim streets of Milwaukee. It deeply saddens me to see so many kids not know the impact education could have not only on them, but their families and communities. Education is far, far greater than making money. Education is living in truth and in service, as W.E.B. Du Bois embodied in the previous quote. Of course, there is an issue of Chromebooks, and there's an issue of Wi-Fi, but there is an even greater issue of hope. Milwaukee needs hope, and Milwaukee needs to be seen. So how can HBCUs educationally heal Milwaukee? I believe that HBCUs need to literally insert themselves into Milwaukee public schools, and I mean physically insert themselves, like fly out to Milwaukee public schools and hold assemblies, offer hope, teach all of my classmates that didn't get and may never see the importance of education, talk about the power of education. I promise you it means so much to the kids of MPS to hear this from Black educators instead of the predominantly white population of teachers that they had originally been learning from. Give students hope that there is more and that they are capable. Let students know that HBCUs love them. My HBCU, Howard University, gave me hope. And so I am confident that if HBCUs insert themselves into Milwaukee Public Schools, talk to the kids, um, let kids know that they are seen, I promise it would make the greatest difference and maybe even inspire kids to go, to finish high school and to go to HBCUs and maybe one day come back and not only physically heal Milwaukee, but educationally heal Milwaukee. I can only imagine the longitudinal impact it would have on my city. What if more kids from the inner city of Milwaukee believed in the power of education? What if they even knew about the power of education? I didn't know about the power of education before I went to Howard. What if more kids went to college, specifically HBCUs? I can only imagine the healing that would take place, but I promise this is only possible if HBCUs insert themselves into schools, hold college fairs in schools, send representatives to take over classrooms. Be aggressive and recognize Milwaukee. My favorite quote from The Education of Black People, that I believe is a beautiful way to end this presentation, is life is more than meat, even though life without food dies. Living is not for earning, earning is for living. The man that spends his life earning a living has never lived. The education that trains men simply for earning a living is not education. What then is life? What is it for? What is its great end? Manifestly in the light of all knowledge and according to the testimony of all men who have lived, life is the fullest, most complete enjoyment of the possibilities of human existence. It is the development and broadening of the feelings and emotions through sound and color, line and form. It is technical mastery of the media that these paths and emotions need for expression of their full meaning. It is the free enjoyment of every normal appetite. It is giving rein to the creative impulse in thought and imagination. Here roots the rise of the joy of living, of music, painting, drawing, sculpture, and building. Hence comes literature with romance, poetry, and essay. Hence rises love, friendship, evaluation, and ambition, and the ever-widening realms of truth, and increasing circles of apprehended and interpreted truth. Thank you so much.